And you know, there isn't a single multiplayer game that isn't toxic. One of the things that I don't really like about shooter games is like, I think like shooter games are just like a more advanced like point and click game. Remember like in old school like PCs and you would have like point and click like detective games where you have to go like, you know, click on the clue and inspect it, and like you gotta like see like, oh, what can you discover. Like if you play a shooter game, it's no different from that. You're just like navigating and like just pointing and clicking at people's heads. And like, you know, I guess like what is attractive about multiplayer games is like you're playing against real people. You know, you're kind of like, in order for you to have a good day, you're kind of like making someone else's day like shit. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta like, you're kind of like getting happiness from someone else's unhappiness. If you really think about it, right? Because that's what like a multiplayer game is about, right? You gotta like win. And your happiness and your dopamine that you're like extracting from like the whole like situation is like dependent on someone else's not winning.
Yes,
Andrick says, yeah, I guess that's what intrigues people to watch. Yeah, I guess so, but like, and I guess I gotta admit, like I personally also watch like multiplayer like competitions and stuff. But as in doing it for a leisurely thing, it just, I don't know, man. I don't like it as much. I like story-based multiplayer. Like there was like a prison game where you have to escape prison with your homie, and like that was fun. I played that multiplayer with my viewer. So I kind of like games like that. But when it comes to like, I don't know, like playing against strangers, you know, it just... And you know, there isn't a single multiplayer game that isn't toxic. If you really think about it, like if you look at every multiplayer game out there, it's always toxic. People are always talking shit, you know, no matter how well you do in the game, people will call you a hacker. Whenever people win, they don't win with grace, they pop off, they talk a lot of shit. You know, they want to like rub salt over your wounds. It's like always like, there's no such game as a GG game, right? It's always GG easy, you know, it's always like free, you know, it's like... And I guess like if there's any multiplayer games I would consider playing, it would be like a fighting game. Because like with fighting games, you don't have to rely on your teammates. If you lose, that's all on you, right? And I don't have a problem with that. But when you play a game where like at least like 50 to 60% of the win rate is dependent on other people, and you don't know if you get matched up with shitty ass people, and that's the shitty part, right? Like they don't reward you for skill, because if you're a really skilled player in whatever games you play with, the people they match you with to become your teammates are really shitty, right? They give you like really weak teammates because you kind of like, you're supposed to carry them. And that's what I hated about League of Legends, because I got really good at that game. Right? I was winning, and every like 4 to 5 wins I would have, they would like actually like they would actually make me have like shitty teammates. And I absolutely hated it. I just wish the game would just like, you know, it just felt like a chore to play. Yeah. And also Overwatch, right? Like Overwatch is like, what I hated about that game was the fact that, you know, you pick a character and then like all of a sudden like your teammates is like, yo, do you mind not playing Hanzo, or do you not mind playing Genji? And I was like, what the fuck? It's like winning is so important that these guys don't give a fuck about having fun. It's like they are like, they need to win so bad. And then you realize that people that like to play like multiplayer games like Overwatch, League of Legends, if I'm being really fucking honest, which I'm gonna be right now, these people are fucking losers. Because people that play games to win instead of having fun, the reason they think that way is because they don't win in real life. It's because in real life, they have a shitty job where their boss is like fucking you know, like treating them like shit. You know, it's not working out well with their girl, or they're not like winning. They're not winning in real life. So all they have is League of Legends or Overwatch or whatever multiplayer games that are out there. And like if they don't fucking win in that, you know, it's over. That's why like when you play with against other players, they're like, oh, we gotta fucking win. Yo, can you like pick this character? Can you like come to bot lane? Like what the fuck, bro? Like player number 8 is feeding. And, you know, it's like, I get it, alright? You really want to win, but you're gonna sacrifice like your fun and like just chilling and all like the good feelings you're supposed to feel playing a game just to win. Andrick says I won't want to go all the way out to say that about them. I'm just neutral about that. I gotta say, like, when you first start out playing multiplayer games, you mostly start out positive. But the longer you play any multiplayer game, it's like holding the One Ring from Lord of the Rings. Your mind becomes corrupted. All of a sudden, like, when you get really good at the game, and you start to understand the map, you start to understand, like, the abilities, and you start to, like, the game doesn't become like interesting anymore because now you know everything. And what is interesting about the game is winning, right? And you're like literally playing, like even winning eventually doesn't become enough, right? Because like imagine the first time you play a multiplayer game and it's like brand new and you know you don't really know like much about it and you just win one time. Like that feeling is like amazing. Like damn, I won a game. You know, I'm new to this shit. I won. And then tomorrow you win 2 games, and then 3 games, and now you're really used to winning 5 games a day, right? Winning 5 games isn't good enough anymore. Now you have to win 10. You have to win 20, and it doesn't become like sustainable. Because you can't fucking win 10 games a day sustainably without playing for like insane amount of hours. And even if you play for that long, the game might actually match you with teammates that suck. You know why? Because you're actually good. You became good at the game. So the game now matches you with teammates that suck. And you're not winning on the base level that makes you even happy. And now you're chasing this high that you experience, which you experienced the first time you played the game. Every time you play the first time you play a game and you win, that's the highest feeling you'll ever get. And if you play that game for long enough, you'll always be chasing that first high because it doesn't feel as good anymore. It's kind of like taking drugs, right? It like drugs are really like awesome the first time you take it. But because your body gets so used to it and you take more and more of it, you're trying to get that first high and you'll never hit it. And the deeper and longer you play a game, the more toxic you'll become. Because you'll start to see like what the game lacks and what the developer doesn't give a fuck about. And you start to see like other players who aren't into the game as much as you. So the more you invest in any multiplayer game, the more you'll start to hate the game or hate the people. And it's inevitable. You can't stay neutral about it. If you're really neutral about like a game, it just means you don't play it enough, right? Or maybe like, okay, as a streamer, you're mainly doing it for the entertainment value, right? If you're just doing it just to entertain other people and you don't really give a fuck about dying or winning, it's cool, right? But eventually some of that poison will seep into your veins because eventually you'll match up in a match with a really toxic player and they'll like start talking shit to you, like they like either if it's like a teammate or like an opponent, right? And all of a sudden you'll get like involved. And that's what I really feel about multiplayer games, and that's why I don't trust it at all. I think the only safe way to really play multiplayer games is to play it with like real friends and have, and you know, it's like the vibe, you know, your friends give you, right? If the vibe they give you is really good, like your friends are like really cool and chill people, then you know you can consistently say that every like multiplayer game experience you have with those group of friends is going to be positive. But like what I think about multiplayer games that is like really shitty is like if you solo queue, you know, play with a chill mindset. But that's like what you go into anything thinking. You know what I mean? And you know when you stop becoming chill about it is when you get addicted to winning. Everyone plays games chill until they start winning, right? And the first win they taste, it's a wrap. And then, you know, they're always chasing that win. Don't give too much thoughts about ranks or etc. Just want to have fun is more important. But that's the problem. The fun you experience the first time won't be the same. Because you will get used to the gameplay loop that the game gives you. Any game. I'm not talking about just like this game or like whatever. You'll eventually get used to the gameplay loop. And what was fun at the start is not as fun anymore, and you have to play more of it. It's kind of like eating food, right? The first time you eat ice cream, it's like delicious. But what if you eat ice cream every day? It doesn't taste as good anymore. The only way to keep things fresh is to not play it for a while, right? So the only way to play like multiplayer games healthily is not to play it all the time. And that's tough because, you know, like that's what people want to watch, or like that's what your friends want to do. But eventually, the longer you dip your fucking toes into any like multiplayer game, the more toxic you'll become. Because you gotta remember, like the only fun you're really having in a multiplayer game is like if you're pursuing a victory. That's why I stopped multiplayer games, man, because like I believe there's like more to life than like winning. You gotta like enjoy the journey and the process and the story. So like single player stories or like single player games in general are like my jam. Yeah, that's what I think, you know, like. And also it's very personality dependent. I guess there are some people in the world that are really chill about stuff. They don't really think too much about it. But I recognize that personally, I'm a competitive motherfucker, man. Like, competition is not good for me. Because I want to win all the fucking time. You know? I have a competitive problem, and also I get easily addicted to stuff. Like, you know, anything, like a game or drugs or like food. Like if I try something for the first time, like I try a bowl of fried rice and I love it, I want to eat fried rice every day. And I eat it to the point that it doesn't taste good anymore. So like it's different. Yeah, I gotta admit, like for certain people like me, it's really tough. That's why I'm really good at games, right? Because I can really sit and play a game for hundreds of hours until I'm really, really good. Right, back when I was playing League of Legends, like my win rate was insane. But my frustration grew with the game because the game was like matching me up with people that like didn't really give a fuck, you know? You're not competitive in games, damn. But think about it, right? Like the more you play a game, the better you'll get at it. Right? It doesn't matter if you're competitive or not. You just keep playing it, and all of a sudden you are like your score is going up, and you're kind of like seeing stuff. It's kind of like being in the Matrix, right? Like the first time you go into it, it's like you can barely dodge shit. You don't know all the rooms. You don't know how to like shoot, you know, stuff like that. But once you like play it for thousands of hours, you become good at it. And whether you like it or not, you'll start to become competitive. Because you'll have that taste of victory, right? And then, you know, like once you become like that, it's a wrap. Sineki says yes, you are in Tekken 7. Yo, Sineki in chat challenged me to Tekken, right? And I haven't played Tekken in years. And I think Sineki won like twice, right? And Sineki was talking a lot, like Sineki was like saying like, oh, I'm better than you. And I went on to destroy Sineki 20 games, like 20-2. Remember that game, Sineki? I think I recorded it on YouTube. I beat your ass 20 games to 2, man. And I told you never to challenge me at games, because I will destroy you. That's why I don't play games, multiplayer games. Straight up, if I play any multiplayer games, I'll be a world champion. But I'll be a very unhappy person. I would really be like really toxic. I'm like the Michael Jordan of gaming. You guys gotta understand. And I'm not even capping, bro. I'm just being straight up. Andrick says I'm definitely better, but like yesterday is one of the worst game day, but we're not really affected by it. We just laugh it off and continue to play with the hackers. Yeah, that's because you're playing with positive people. So if your group is like positive and really cool, that's what I said. Remember, I said like multiplayer games are cool if you have friends to play with and they are all cool. So you feed off each other's energy. But if you're solo queuing, you're playing alone, yeah, you might run into some problems, man. All love and fun, bro. Yo, Syndicate, it ain't all love and fun for me, man. You gotta hold that L for the rest of your life. You feel me, bro? You're always gonna remember who is the top dog in Tekken. And I'm excited for Tekken 8. Did you see the Tekken 8 trailer? I don't know if you could really call it a trailer, but it was like they show like a throwback video of like I think the original Tekken where Kazuya was throwing Heihachi off like the cliff, and it was like in the PlayStation 1 graphics, and then they like fucking switched the scene to Kazuya's face in like CG, and that is supposed to be like a Tekken 8 trailer. It was pretty lit. Did you see that one? I'm excited for Tekken 8. I think like when Tekken 8 comes out, or even like Street Fighter 6, I'm gonna get myself like an arcade stick to try to learn how to play fighting games. I like fighting games way better because like you can't blame your teammates, right? If you lose, that's on you, right? And I love not relying on other people. I just love relying on my abilities. And if I lose, I lose, right?